Hello, who are you and where are you from?
Hi, my name is Tomas Schinelli, and I'm from Argentina. I live in the south of Argentina, in Patagonia, in the west side of Patagonia on the Andes, long way from Europe.
A really long way, like another planet. We met
Yeah.
each other at the Metal Love Symposium in Czech Republic. And you're the dragon guy. You made a dragon
Yeah.
there. This is what you usually do, or you do other type of sculptures also?
Well, the truth is that the subject I have done the most is actually dragons, but it's not the only thing I do. I usually do other animals as well, and human figure as well. So it's always like a figurative sculpture, but not specifically dragons. I did around, I think the dragon that I made in Czech Republic was the number 20th. The other day we were thinking about that. So I have done quite a few of those, but I have done all kind of animals as well.
How did you start it on metal sculptures? Did you do it your entire life? Have you made some schooling on this, or it just happened?
No, actually, I started on iron working through forging, doing things that I wanted to have in my place, in my house that I was building. And it was kind of an unexpected thing that somebody asked me if I might be able to do a sculpture of a dragon, actually. And why the story of the dragons? I live in a small town which is originally a colony of Welsh people. And the Welsh people have this dragon in their flag. So it happened like it was something that simply happened, that somebody asked me if I was able to do a dragon. And that was actually my first sculpture. I haven't studied art in any way. I have been involved with art all my life since very young. A lot of drawing, a lot of woodworking as well. But I didn't have a formal education in art. So it was kind of something that simply happened.
So how was your first sculpture? Doing the first sculpture without having an education, without ever working on something like this. How was the first experience?
Well, the truth is that being the first experience actually is one of the dragons I like the most. Maybe it's not anatomically perfect, but it has a special feeling, and I like it especially because probably it was the first one. It wasn't hard for me to generate this 3D image, which I suppose is the hard part of doing sculpture. And probably it's because I've always been very fond of sculptures in general. I'm a person that learns a lot by looking at things. I pay a lot of attention at the forms and the movement of things. So it wasn't actually very difficult. It did take me quite a lot of time considering the size. It's a 2.5 meter dragon, something like that. And of course, the technique was clumsy. So it's actually very heavy. It has a lot of metal inside. I wasn't sure about the possibilities of the material, which now I do it in a totally different way, but it was pretty easy actually. It wasn't something that took me a lot of time or I had to fix during the process. It went out pretty straightforward.
So after you did the first sculpture, something must have happened in you because you continued doing. What feelings did that first sculpture generated in you?
Well, I have to say that the what happened actually is that the sculpture was installed in a park in the town where I live, and when they made it public, it was an event. It was the anniversary of the town, and the mayor of another town saw it and he liked it, and he asked me to do some sheep, which is an animal that we have a lot here. And he asked me to do some sculptures for him. And after that, somebody else appeared as well, asking me for something. So what actually happened is that from that moment, something started spinning, wheel started spinning, and I haven't stopped doing sculptures since. That was around 10 years ago. And actually, I stopped doing anything else, and I live from sculptures now. Yeah.
Is it paid well? How is Argentina in this regard?
Well, maybe not really. When I talk to people in Czech Republic about the prices of sculptures there, obviously in Argentina the value is lower. It's not very common. Actually, I believe there are quite few people that are able to live from this kind of art. So I'm very lucky with that. And at the same time, I try to be cheap in the sense that I enjoy the fact that I have work to do. And I'd rather have a lot of sculptures to do than make one or two only and get paid well for them. It's more important for me to keep feeding my need of working with my hands.
What moves you in this thing you do besides the money? What feelings do you have from what you do?
Well, of course, I don't do it for the money. All my life, I've been always doing things with my hands, different things. And when I'm working in the sculptures, in this case, is when I feel complete. Is where I can express myself. Is the workshop is a place where I find peace, and it's something that keeps me interested. Every new sculpture that I have to develop is how do you say it? It's desafío. Well, it's something new, something that I have to study, and all that process is something that I enjoy a lot. So my motivation is learning from the experience every time.
Is it something about the people that get your statues? Is it more about your experience, or is it also the thing you're trying to get to others, to give to others?
Well, there are different ways of seeing this, because during the process of building the sculpture, of creating the sculpture, I get very involved with that process. It's something that I enjoy deeply. And once I finish it, I just kind of let it go. And if that sculpture gets public, for example, I don't sign my sculptures. I don't usually do that. I simply don't care about that. And it gives me a lot of pleasure, the fact that I've seen that people maybe are walking on the street and get to see one of these sculptures, and just they can get distracted by them just for a little bit. Maybe they liked it, maybe they don't, but at least they get away of their mind for a moment. They have this tiny experience of seeing something unexpected, and that's actually what I enjoy the most. That for me is more than enough.
The fact that you make a stop in the rhythm of people, the life rhythm.
Yeah. I'm not trying to make a huge impact or a deep message, because it's not abstract art, or it's not maybe something very strange, but at least I get that kind of tiny attention for a moment that makes people just catch their mind for a moment, and it's nice.
Do you try to transmit something with your work? Are you trying to leave a message?
Well, usually the sculptures that I'm asked to do don't have that meaning, that importance, or that effect. That I'm not looking for that. But I do try to make something which has a movement and a dynamic gesture that makes it especially interesting. I mean, there are a lot of sculptures that are kind of static, especially when talking about animals, and they don't seem alive. And I work very specifically in the moment, the movement of the sculptures, trying to get this feeling that it's something that suddenly really appeared there, like a real animal. And it's not more. There's not a deep message. No, actually not. Just a distraction.
Not distraction, distraction.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not trying to destroy anything, right? They don't have bombs inside or something. Okay. But when I asked about the message you're trying to leave, I wasn't necessarily speaking about the value of the work, an abstract work or something, I don't know, with message. Your work entirely, are you trying to send a message with this? Or is it just for you, the work in itself?
It's a good question. Actually, I haven't thought about it in that way. I'm not the kind of person that tries to make an impression through the things I do. For example, something that I'm often asked to do is native animals from the place where we live. So it might have more of an educational thing than a special message that I try to give to people. I don't think that art needs to all the time leave you something to think about. Sometimes it's just to get off what you are usually thinking. Yeah, I don't have that twisted way of thinking that I have to leave something for humanity or whatever. Actually, the sculptures are made with a sheet metal, which is pretty thin, and probably in maybe 15 or 20 years, it's gonna start getting holes and gonna start breaking. And actually, I feel that it's a good thing to happen.
Okay. So you're just passing by like a vulture in flight for a moment, and then poof.
Right. That's right. Yeah.
Did the metalworking change your way of feeling and viewing life? Did you had a normal job, 9 to 5, before starting metalworking?
Well, I used to have one, kind of. I'm a forest engineer, actually, and I work in that profession many years. I was also in politics, and I was working in those things when I started doing sculpture, and I left all that. I mean, I spent 6 years of studying to get that degree, and actually it's much more fulfilling for me to do what I'm doing now. If by any reason the amount of work with sculpture goes down, which might happen eventually, I might have to think about going back to my engineering work. But actually, as long as possible, I'm going to try to keep doing this, because for me, it's something that I enjoy every day. I wake up thinking about that thing that I have to do that day of that particular sculpture that I'm working on. And I always have 2 or 3 more sculptures to do later. And I like that dynamic. I enjoyed a lot. It changed my life completely, yes.
Yeah, in what way? In the schedule, in the fact that you're more free, or it changed something inside in
Well, also, of course, the schedule, because my workshop is in my home and I'm my own boss, so I'm a very strict boss, actually. I don't give myself vacations, for example.
We all do that when we're self-employed.
Yeah, my boss is very bad with me. He treats me very bad. He expects a lot from me.
Sue him.
No, but you always put a lot of feelings when you're working with sculptures, and I put a lot of my mind and my heart with every piece that I do. So actually, every time that I finish a sculpture, before it goes away, I need maybe 1 or 2 days of not doing anything, because I suddenly get exhausted. Once I finish it, I get exhausted. And that is the perfect example of all the heart and all the emotion that I put in each work. So it definitely changed me in a way that doing the work that I did before, that didn't happen, of course. This is much more important for me.
I'm still fixated a little bit on the emotion part of this activity, because when I spoke with other artists in other interviews, there is a lot of feeling on the message they're trying to leave behind. You are different. You're not leaving anything behind. It's just a mandala. You're making mandalas.
Yeah, it's like a mandala. It's something that I enjoy the process. I enjoy the fact that I can share it. I enjoy if people get to see it and like it, but I don't care how long it lasts. I don't care if people know that I was the one that did it, because I don't sign them. I live in a small town, and many people know me in this part of Argentina, because there aren't actually many artists, so it's easy to be recognized. But I'm not working to be known. That's not something that I care about, actually. It's something I enjoy, and I enjoy the fact that I'm in this lucky position of having a lot of work to do, and people enjoy it. But it's not for myself. I mean, it's for myself while I'm doing it, and in the moment I finish it, I just let it go. I don't feel attached to the pieces that I've done. I like to see them from time to time. When I have the chance, I go and visit them. But I'm also an engineer, so every time I see a sculpture that I did some time before, I'm probably more time looking what's wrong in that instead of enjoying it by what it is. I try to learn from each sculpture and try to remember what I did wrong in the one before, so I can get it better in this one. I'm probably gonna stop doing this the moment that I feel that they are exactly as I want them. And that is an important detail, because something that motivates me a lot is the fact that I'm still learning. And if I'm not learning from it, I'm going to change what I do.
Okay. So you're not doing it for you, you're doing it for others. Where are you in all this? Where? Only in the work? Only in that small moment? Okay, it's not small, because every sculpture takes a while. I believe it takes you weeks or months, depending on the size.
Yeah.
Where are you?
But I love the process. The process of creating is something that I always enjoyed. I enjoy every day when I see that it gets bigger and the shape is getting as I want, or as I'm trying to get. And this is something that I bring from my childhood. When I did drawings of whatever, usually human figure is something that it's always been the thing that I enjoyed the most. What I enjoyed was the process. When the drawing was finished, most of the time, or I gave it away or I just threw it away. because the result was never the point. It was the process. So it happens to me with sculptures. If I had those sculptures in my garden, I would hate them. I would give them away. I don't want to see them every day. I don't care really about that. The process of creating, the process, all that happens in my mind when I study the anatomy of that thing that I have to do, all I learn from that, every piece of metal that I turn and I twist, and every burn that I get in my hands, it's something that makes me learn something, and is that process the thing that I care for the most.
You chose metal, or it chose you?
I would say that it chose me somehow, because actually the first welder that I bought was because I needed something made of metal. Because of what I wanted to do, it had to be metal. I used to work with wood, and that is something that I'm probably gonna do sometime. I don't know when, but I do love the sculpting wood. Although I consider it something 10 times harder than iron. With metal, you can always cut, fix, weld, repair. It's an easy material, although it's hard, and one can say that it's a tough material to work with. I consider it much easier than other materials.
Yeah, you can repair when you do a mistake, while in wood, stone, glass, that you cannot. How did you start wood carving? When did that happen?
Well, the truth is, the first carvings that I did, I was in primary school, and I used to steal the chalks from the teacher, and I sculpted little faces and little figures. And I discovered that when I was very, very young. And then when I grew much older, of course, I started doing some things with chainsaw, like chairs and different figures, just enjoying the process. I didn't do proper sculpting in wood. I did work with wood a lot, doing or furniture, but not carpentry, always with an artistic way, you know. What I want to do is to sculpt human figure or animals on wood in the proper way. I would love to learn that.
So
I'm not going to take classes anyway. I'm going to try to do it until I get it.
Okay, I can understand that. From where this artistic part of you came from? Did you have it in your family, or where is it from?
I was always the weird one in the family. There aren't any artists. I'm very fond of art in general. I started with loving paintings, also with music. It's my hobby. The music is something I enjoy a lot, classical music especially, and also was something that you wouldn't hear at my place. And I have no idea where that comes from, but I'm glad that it's there.
I saw that regarding music, you play violin and you repair violins. Which one was first?
No, I started when I was very young. My mother bought me a guitar because I wanted to learn guitar, and I went to a music school, and the guitar classes were on the 3rd floor. But on the 2nd floor, you have the violin classes. And I never got to the guitar classes because I stayed on the 2nd floor listening to the violins. Of course, I always thought that was something too difficult to learn when you are grown up. And nevertheless, I bought my first violin when I was around 20 years old, and I started learning. I'm not professional, not at all, but I do enjoy it a lot. I've played for many years, and I still do. I actually have many violins, and the repairing violin thing is also something that I bring since I'm very young. I always wanted to repair violins. I was just about to go and study that, luthery, and it was simply too complicated. I lived in Buenos Aires at that time, and the only place where you could study the building and repairing violins was in the north of Argentina, but the whole family was in the south of Argentina, and it's a very big country. So it was just too complicated. I got scared about the fact of going alone to the other side of the country, and I never did that. And of course, as I'm very hard with my mind, I started doing it by myself some couple of years ago, and I do it now with friends of mine that also play with me with these instruments, and they give them to me so I can fix them. And I've bought old instruments, maybe some of them pretty broken, and got to fix them. And well, that's my hobby. I don't do it for an economic thing, but just because I enjoy it. And it's interesting because it's totally different than metalworking. Everything is very tiny. It has to be very precise. There are a lot of measurements, very minimal things. They have to be perfect in a way that in the sculpture doesn't happen. I have this technique which is pretty rough, that I don't care about details very much. I care more about the general idea and the movement. So it's quite the opposite thing. It's a balance that I look in my activities.
So metalworking, hobby, violin playing, violin repairing. What else do you hide there? What else are you doing?
Well, nowadays, not more than that. I'm a father of 2 little girls, so that's also a lot of work.
Artistic work or like the violin? How is it?
A little bit of both. It's special and complicated, and that is what takes more time, actually, and the most important thing, actually. But in my last years, I've done so many things. I've been a ski instructor for more than 10 years. I've done tons of sports, different sports, all kind of them. Now my body just doesn't work that well anymore. I'm 45, but I've done a lot of things. I've enjoyed sports all my life. A little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything, but art remains the first love, to put it like that.
Yes, I would say so.
You find yourself more in this. You find yourself more in art or in violin repairing? Where are you?
No, definitely not. Because the feeling is different. The violin, although I did build one violin and it was a beautiful experience, and I'm gonna do more of them because it was fantastic. But whether you're repairing a violin or building a violin, you don't have a lot of freedom. There's something that you have to do in a certain way. So it's like something that, although it has a soul, it's kind of static. You have to follow plans and measurements, and there's only one way to do it. You can't play with that. On the other hand, with art, with the sculptures, I create from an idea that I have. So it's totally different. I create from nothing to something that it's only in my head, and that's the whole difference.
In the sculpting, what do you like most? Do you like the dragons, or do you like other animals, or you just like the work in itself?
Well, it depends, because dragons is something that I love, I enjoy, and I don't need to see any pictures or anything. I just know the anatomy. I know which things I can play with, how can I change them, the I've made, as I said before, around 20 dragons, and they are all different. The faces and the heads are totally different one from another. And I can play with that freely and without any images get from internet or whatever. When I do other animals, I have to do an anatomical study of them because they have to be perfect. I mean, they are not mythological creatures, so you don't have so much freedom. But the truth is, what I enjoy, I'm not sure if it's correct to say that I enjoy the most, but what I find more difficult, and when I got it right, I enjoy the most, is the human figure. It's something that I've studied a lot. I have a lot of books of anatomy, and that is something that for me is the most difficult thing to do, because you can do a lot of dogs and they're gonna be okay every time. But if you want to make this, for example, a hero figure, you have, let me rephrase that. The human figure, we have it so deep in our minds that it's very easy to do it wrong. When you miss a proportion, everybody notices it and it looks weird immediately. So it has to be very precise, but at the same time, the expression that you can get from a human figure with all the culture that we have inside, it's amazing. You can do whatever you want. You can express tons of feelings that you won't be able to do it with a sculpture of a sheep or of a horse. Well, a horse is quite expressive, but you know what I mean. With a human figure, you are in a totally different situation, and it's very interesting to work with human figure. Yeah.
How many human figures have you made?
Let me think for a moment. 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 9 or 10. No, maybe a few more actually. Yeah, quite a few.
They were commissions. Everything you've done were commissions. Have you done anything
I think that
by yourself, just for the?
I've done around by now. I've done around 150 sculptures, from small things to 17-meter long things, and I'm pretty sure that only 3 of them were not commissions.
You made them just because you wanted to?
Yeah, and I wish I had more time, because there are a lot of things that I want to do. And sadly and luckily at the same time, I don't have time, because I always have commissions to do, and I live from that. So it's kind of important to work with that. Yeah.
Well, you can put an hour aside for your other things you want to do. Don't you find an hour?
The moment I have an hour aside, I go and play the violin.
Okay. So do you have time to live? Or you're just living in all of this?
Not much time, actually. I usually don't have much free time, I would say, because the family takes a lot of time. I try to keep a kind of fixed schedule every day. That is flexible, of course, but I try to make certain hours of workshop, and then the priority is always the family. And when I have a little bit of free time, I or study violin or fix a violin, or maybe go to the mountain. I like, for example, motorcycle riding quite a lot. So I try to make myself time for bike rides in the mountain and things like that.
So do you live through your art, or your art lives through you? Is there a connection there? If commissions stop and you don't have any commissions, will you still work with the same passion?
I think that I would, as long as I'm able to support the family in the way it's necessary. I would probably stop fixing violins and spend my time still doing art. Yes. Because it's, as I said before, it's the fact of being able to create stuff and the fact that there are a lot of figures and sculptures that I would love to do by myself and not in a commission. I will have to find the time to do it. I need to do them.
So the things you want to do that are not commissions, what are they? Human figures, dragons, what are they?
I want to do some human figures, I want to do some horses, and I want to do some, I don't know if you know the movie Labyrinth, with the tiny, I don't know the name in English, the small creatures with helmets and, how do you say it, leprechauns and things like that, little monsters. I want to work on the fantasy world a little bit. I have a lot of things that I would love to do, little creatures and monsters to hide inside my little forest that I have here, and things on the trees and animals, strange animals.
Just
that fantasy side of myself, it never happened in a commission, and it's something that I would enjoy a lot. Yeah.
You haven't had a commission for a horse? You don't have horses there?
Actually, no, not yet. I haven't. I've done maybe 4 or 5 horse heads, but I never had the chance of doing a full body horse, life size.
You do have horses there, right?
Yeah, but only heads.
Not a full body horse.
Not a full body horse, no.
Okay. Nice to know that. Something to view when visiting Argentina.
Well, in Argentinian culture, the horse is an animal that we use a lot. Everybody, there are horses everywhere. I've had a horse in my garden for months last year, but I haven't had the chance of working on that figure. It's probably the most expressive animal that I know. I love horses. I love the anatomy. I've studied it a lot, many times. I have books just of horses, but I haven't had the chance of doing one yet.
You have horse races or something like that? Maybe something like that will make a commission?
It's not it hasn't happened yet. In Argentina, they play a lot of polo, and once they were just about to ask me for a couple of horses, and then I lost that opportunity, and it hasn't happened yet again.
Okay.
It will happen.
So if you were to do things that you want for yourself and not commissions, I didn't hear dragons. You will not do?
Because I have done so many dragons that when I am asked for a commission, I get the liberty of designing it as I want. And many times for example, they asked me for a dragon that they wanted to put on the roof of a house. So I went to look at that place and I decided how that dragon should be. I'm lucky that people trust my way of designing the sculpture. So actually, I've always had the chance of doing what I wanted with dragons. So I kind of, it's not that I'm done with dragons. I enjoy it. I'm doing some sculptures now, and after these ones, I have to do another dragon. And I think I have another one for close to the end of the year. So dragons are always there, and every time I have to do one, I do something different and enjoy it a lot. But probably if I have time for myself, I would choose something else, because I've done so many dragons that I kind of, it's not going to surprise me.
Okay, so you're going to the demons and monsters realm to be surprised.
Yeah, exactly. The fantasy side of my mind, yeah.
The good ones in the fantasy or the bad ones?
Usually the
fairies?
bad ones. I feel no, not fairies. No, don't like fairies. I'm more interested in the creepy ones. Yeah.
Why?
I think they're more. I find them more interesting, more complex than the fairies. They are all good, and it's a very simple personality. Instead, the dark ones are like more complex, and there are so many ways of being strange. I find it more attractive.
You're not building personalities. You're building a sculpture out of metal. So,
Yeah.
what makes it interesting?
In a way, every time, not with animals, but when I do a human figure, I try to get in that figure in an emotional way. I try to understand what I'm doing, and I give a personality to that figure somehow in the process of building it. So if I have to do a fairy, it's like, I don't know, there's not much to put there. But instead with a small creature, demon, monster, you can imagine stories and more complex things.
So you can imagine bloodshed, but you cannot imagine happily ever after, or what?
Yeah, well, the happily ever after is always the same. But for evil, you have a lot of options.
I understand. Okay. Do you think art should be something present in the life of everybody? You think art has it's so important that it can shape the human character, it can shape the world?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can't imagine a world without art. Art is what gets us out of the boring square world that we have, and it's so important in every possible way that art can express: sculpture, painting, colors, architecture. We need the art, otherwise we can't even start enjoying anything. I think art it's basic and the most important thing to build a society.
Does your girls...
It's hard to explain in English what I'm trying to say, but I think you get the idea.
Does your girls have an inclination for art? Do they do something? Sculpture, painting, music?
The big one is into music. She plays a little bit. She plays the violin and sings, like lyric. And the small one is into painting and drawing. She's all day drawing and painting, and she grabs my books of Rembrandt or Da Vinci or whatever that I have, tons of them, and she opens those books and copy the paintings. She's very into that.
Super.
So, yeah.
Are they in an art school or following a normal school?
No, they are in normal school. We don't have, in the place where I live, it's a small village, a long way from big cities, and we don't have actually a lot of art around us. It's a very, Argentina in general is a young culture, and the great difference that I see with Europe, when I was there, I was fascinated by the architecture and the amount of fantastic sculptures everywhere. And you don't have that here. I live in a small village between the mountains and small houses, and we don't have that amount of art around us. So I'm pretty lucky to be the one that tries to break that boringness. Yes.
Yeah, if you would have had art schools, you would have taken your girls to art school, or you would have let them find it on their own?
I wouldn't know how to answer that because I didn't do that I didn't have that education. Actually, I don't know if I had studied, I would be able to do what I do, because the fact that I learned by myself, not that I invented anything, but I copy ideas from others, and I learned by watching other sculptures. I don't know if maybe if I had studied, I wouldn't have my mind so open to developing the technique that I'm using now, for example. So I wouldn't know. I'm not sure if it's, I mean, to study the story of art, for example, I think it's something very useful if you're into art. But techniques and methods, I'm not so sure. I think it's nice to have the freedom of discovering, unless it takes you too much time, of course. But maybe knowing too much might limit you in a way.
So getting back to art, do you think if we as a society, as humankind, would start be interested more in art than we are at the moment? Because we are interested in music, movies, and kind of that's it as a society altogether. But if inclination came for other things, do you think humankind will be different than it is now?
Well, I'm not sure. Society changes so fast, especially nowadays with all this technology that is every year you have something new. The interest of people change every year a lot, but I believe the society is getting not cleverer, but dumber, because everything is already solved. So I actually can't imagine a world in which art can evolve very much. Actually, it's like classical music. It's getting smaller and smaller, and I'm not sure how long it's going to live, because now everything is it's oriented to doing things fast, simple, square, without anything that is decorative. Everything is, the furniture is boring. Everything is getting less interesting in a way, and the young generations are getting used to see that. So I'm not sure if I can imagine a world where art can go back to a period in history where it was something really important. Hopefully, but I don't imagine that happening.
Do you have some emotion?
Society definitely, but
do you have some emotions regarding technology? Do you think that at some point you will lose commissions because a machine will do your job better?
Not really, because the magic of the handmade thing is not how good it is, but its flaws. When technology gets to do a sculpture which is perfect, it's lifeless in a way. I mean, this is very usual in the Japanese art and culture. What makes something special is not how good it is, but the little flaws that it has, the handmade mistakes. So in a way, hopefully, the value of something made by hand will stay there, will still have value. And although we're going to see a lot of things made by 3D printers and computer programs and stuff, I don't think that regarding to art and sculpture and painting, we're going to lose that value of the handmade thing.
You use technology. Do you find it useful, or do you reject it?
I don't use nothing at all. No, it's not that I reject it. I simply don't use it because I find that I lose a lot of time with that. The only thing that I use of technology is search for images when I have to do an animal for which I don't have images in a book. But I don't use any kind of computer programs or anything at all. I make a drawing with chalk on the table or on the floor as good as I can, and I work from there. There's no technology involved whatsoever. Only the tools, of course. But I mean, the welder and the grinder, but not more than that. Actually, I use very few tools.
You're sculpting and sculpting and the 3D shapes you make. Do you think you need to have a gift for this, or is just practice and studying of the shape?
I don't believe in that gifted way of thinking. One time somebody told me, "Oh, I wish I have your gift of being able to do that," and it sounded so weird to me because for me it's a lifetime of paying a lot of attention of what I see, and then practicing and making mistakes and understanding the shapes and the muscles and the bones and just putting in there. I kind of see it before doing it, but it's not magic. It's something that you train your brain to be able to do it, I suppose. It might be easier for some people and not so easy for others, but I don't think it's a special gift, not at all.
So from your opinion, everybody could do it if they spend the time, invest the time in training?
Well, if you have the will and the courage to do a lot of mistakes during a lot of time, you might be able to do it, yes.
Did working with your hands, well, always making things with your hands, do you think made you a better, sorry for that, do you think it made you better in your mental processing, in you finding solutions, in thinking? Do you think that working with your hands has a big influence on how you think as a human being?
Well, I do communicate with things a lot through my hands. Yes, it's my main tool. I mean, my eyes and my hands are the only things for which I would live. I can lose my legs and I can have whatever problems that I can have. But if I lose my hands, I just don't have a meaning in life.
No, my question was more on we were speaking a little bit earlier about society and things like this. If we look at the nowadays society, they don't work with their hands so much, so they become very specific in a way in abilities and things like this, while our generations worked more with their hands. So you being an engineer, moving from somehow a 9-to-5 job to metalworking, have you noticed if this continuous working with your hands modified a little bit the capacities of your brain on how you see solutions, something like that?
I know what you mean, but I'm not sure, because although I was working 9 to 5 as an engineer with a computer, I never stopped doing things with my hands since I'm a child. Because if I wasn't stealing the chalks so I could make a small figure, I was making, I don't know how you say it, maquetas. Well, those
replicas.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yep.
Or I was drawing, or I was working with a chainsaw when I was bigger, or I've always been doing some things with my hands. Actually, I wanted to study this building instruments thing because it involved using my hands. So I suppose that I started doing sculptures just to keep doing something with my hands. And that's why I'm not sure if I can say that now that I do sculpture, I feel that I have a capacity of seeing things differently, because I've always been in those kind of things, activities. Yeah.
Okay, we have gone with this interview for a while. I hope people will look at them, although they are used with me making long interviews. I want to put a little bit in this some ideas about the Metal Symposium in Czech Republic. What do you have to say about that event and how you were for the second time there? I was for the first time. So how how
Yes.
how is it a symposium for an artist? How was it for you? What did it brought good? How was it as an experience?
Well, I don't have much experience in symposiums because actually the only two I've been at were these symposiums in La Table is Love. But I have to say that the experience for me both times was something amazing that I live very isolated from other artists. So the possibility of working with other artists that use different methods and have another way of thinking about art, it's an experience that makes you learn a lot of things. And it's a fantastic experience. This last one was particularly special because as it was longer, it was instead of 1 week, it was 2 weeks. That getting to know the artist was much better. We had more time together, so the experience of working together was deeper and much more interesting, actually. And as we had more time, the sculptures that all the artists chose to do were pretty big and complex, so it was a fantastic experience. The possibility that we have in that symposium to, for example, I live so far away from Europe, to be able to go there and know these places, all the people is so lovely, the place is beautiful, everything is like fantastic. I can't think of one bad thing about this symposium.
Did it make you want to go to other symposiums, try other symposiums?
Yes, definitely. We don't have much of those here in Argentina. I want to see if I can find others in Europe. Once I was invited to one in Russia, but at the end there was a war. So
Yeah, it happens.
it happens. So that didn't work. But I think that would have been very nice as well because it's a huge event. And there's a lot of wood carving involved in that specific event, so I think it would have been a fantastic experience. Hopefully, I get an invitation again. But well, I haven't had the time to see if I find other possibilities of having an experience like this one again.
You love wood more than metal in working?
No.
Oh?
No, I hate wood. I hate it in the way that I'm a forest engineer, and actually I have a lot of people that know me from my forestry engineering. I studied trees for 8 years and worked with wood a lot of years. And people laugh that I studied that and started working with iron. And the fact is that iron is much easier. Wood is very complex. It's very special. It moves, it breaks, it changes in time, it gets smaller or bigger, it depends on humidity. It's very complicated.
Okay. Last thing. Is there you don't know Romania, you've never been to Romania. I believe before us meeting at the symposium you didn't even knew where Romania is on the map.
Not at all. I didn't know where it was, but I never met anybody from there.
Okay, so I'm trying to present you to my Romanian fellows as the dragon guy from Argentina that does a lot of things. And he doesn't care if his sculptures survive or not. So who makes a commission to you have to specify, please make it resist in time.
Well, I mean, it's going to resist their lifetime. It's not going to resist 200 years, but how long do you want a sculpture?
like the Renaissance ones for millennia.
We are not even close to that quality. So,
Okay. Is there something you would like to say to my Romanian fellows regarding your sculpture,
I would
whatever?
I've heard a lot. I've heard a lot about the country. I find it, after we spoke pretty much about our own countries, I find that the culture must be very, very similar to the Argentinian one. So I think it should be a beautiful place, and in a place where I would feel very comfortable. So if anybody is interested in a commission that involves me going and doing it there, it's going to be a pleasure.
Good to know. We'll put that first thing in the article.
Yeah.
Please get an Argentinian to Romania because he feels like home. Order an Argentinian dragon. Okay, this is. Do you where people can find you? Do you have a website, Facebook, YouTube, something?
I used to have a web page, but actually I found that it didn't work very much, and I use social media. Usually I have Facebook or Instagram, mostly Instagram, of course, and it's my name. It's Tomas Schinelli, which is pretty difficult to spell, but I'm pretty sure that in the video you're going to write it down.
I'll write it down.
So that's the easiest way to find me.
Okay, Doc. Do you feel the need to say something else? If not, this is it.
I'm very happy. I thank you for the opportunity of talking about what I do, to be able to share it with Romania and all the people out there that follow your channels. So only words of thanks.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing with us everything, and I do hope you'll become a worldwide known name with dragons, because I like your dragons, but whatever you want with.
Okay. We'll see. It's not something that I'm working to get to that, but if it happens, I'm going to enjoy it as well.
Okay, thank you so much, Tomas Schinelli.
My pleasure.